started in Lyon, and then I went to Zurich, and then I went to Berlin, and then London and Paris, and then Lisbon and Porto. So we're talking about traveling solo. At the ripe old age of 40, I was like, you know what? There's not gonna be that many opportunities for me to do this, so I'm just gonna take it. We had just got out of 2020, so we all know what that was like. Flights were affordable, so were Airbnbs, and I knew that wasn't gonna last, and I think we can all agree on that right now. What really prompted this was that two of my best friends are both gonna be in France. Not only do I want to do this for the first time for myself, but I get to see two of my best friends whom I haven't seen because of the pandemic in so long. So I knew I was gonna start off with Lyon. My other friend was gonna be in Paris like 3 weeks after that. So I was like, all right, so I gotta squeeze in some cities in between. Let me look at the map. So I started in Lyon, and then I went to Zurich, and then I went to Berlin, and then London and Paris, and then Lisbon and Porto. Here we go. Right when I got to Lyon, the sun was shining and the air just was so different. I took a deep breath and I just realized that I wasn't home anymore. And it was a great feeling. So I immediately checked into my Airbnb, adorable Airbnb, had the perfect view, and it was just so charming. So I dropped my stuff off really quickly and then went straight to my friend's place. And it was a family get together, and they were having this amazing, I don't know what you call it, because it's not quite lunch, it's not quite dinner, it's like all of it. Incredible spread. I was so fortunate to have been included in that. And the moment that my friend and I saw each other at the front of the house, it was surreal. And we were so thrilled and so happy.
Hi!
Welcome to France!
I love you. We can't believe this is real.
We're the
Wait.
best. We're the best.
Where are we?
France!
It was just such a joyous experience and just the perfect way for me to spend my first day in Europe and in Lyon. So the trip was about 4 days, which isn't that long. I spent just walking around the neighborhood and eating whatever I could, including andouillette, which apparently was really hardcore, even for the Lyonnese. But one of the favorite things that I did every night, at every sunset, I would run home, grab my camera, a glass of wine, just head to the river and sit at sunset by myself and take it all in. The sounds of the music and the conversations, the smell of the cigarettes, everything. It was so unique to that moment and that place. I would go back to my room and just work on things and kind of reflect on the day. And then I would just repeat it the next day. So that leads me to my next destination, Zurich. I did not know what to expect at all. I checked in, grabbed my stuff, and went to meet my friend right away. And as I was walking, and it was like the square, I just remember the church bells ringing and it being sunset. And I was like, this is like supremely unreal. And Lyon was already beautiful. And oh, I forgot to mention, everyone kept saying how terrible the weather was right up until that day I arrived. So then I go to Zurich, same thing. So I feel like I just kept lucking out. I was trailing behind whatever storms were like ripping through these cities because I just got them at the most glorious and when everyone's just like in such good spirits and it's just so sunny. So I did luck out there. But yeah, I got to Zurich and just went straight to meet my friend. I took the metro and I walked over that beautiful bridge, had that surreal moment, and I was just like, where am I? Like, what is this place? How did I not know about this place? How has no one told me about this place? I got to the restaurant, met with my friend, and she's like, oh yeah, Zurich is beautiful. Zurich's amazing. So yeah, I was totally caught off guard. But the rest of the trip, which was another 4 days, I just walked around the neighborhood and I really got to see the cute shops and bakeries. And there was one, I remember, like row of boutiques, and I'm a personal stylist, and I made it kind of a goal of mine to see the boutiques that were unique to each city. But I was just like looking for breakfast, as I always am in the early mornings, and just looked down the street and I was like, oh.
Okay, I'm shopping here later.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go down this row as soon as the shops open. It was just so freaking cool, and I ended up buying a few things. Oh, another thing, I only took one carry-on. So that was a challenge of mine. 1 month, one carry-on. So I had to be a little conservative on what I purchased because I didn't have a lot of space to put these things in. What I really loved about this city was that there were so many beautiful paths to like the most beautiful like nature spots. I would just be walking down the sidewalk and look over, I'm like, oh, what is this? And it would just lead me to the perfect stream or babbling brook or something, and people would just be sitting around like enjoying their day, like no big deal, when I'm like, does anyone see what I'm seeing? Like, this is so incredible. And then my friend had suggested this pool. Now, when anyone says a public pool, first of all, but secondly, I'm like, okay, like it's just gonna be a pool, like concrete or I don't know, like tile. But no, the pool that I saw was not what I was expecting. It was like a river. It's where the river meets the lake, and so there's this pool. So when I walked by, I was like, wait, this is the pool? There were people jumping off the bridge. It was such a cool scene, and I was like, all right, how do I do this? Because I'm by myself. It's not like I can just take things with me. So I just took my GoPro and my keys, and that's it. And I got to the pool, and I was like, I want to take a dip, and I did. And that water felt amazing. Like, unlike any water I'd ever been in, and I've been in bodies of water. It was so refreshing, and being around all those people, and it was such a cool moment because it was clearly like the local spot. And then after I took a dip, I walked out and I walked through to this like skate park area and just got to see a bunch of people like on their skateboards and just seeing the locals hang out and enjoy the pool. So yeah, that was an amazing stay at Zurich, and I will be back there for sure. Okay, so now on to Berlin. Berlin was interesting. Again, beautiful weather because I've just been like timing it perfectly. So I just checked in and was like, all right, I'm gonna set out and just gonna meander like I always do. So it was really easy to avoid like the touristy streets because there were crowds everywhere. So I just like looked down the street like, okay, I'm gonna go this way. And of course I ended up finding some of the local spots, like the smaller parks and streets and shops. Something felt a little off in Berlin, and I'll definitely give it another chance, but I made the most out of it. I found some really great boutiques, bought an amazing dress. I went to a concert, like I think it was like a music festival, which I guess if you're in Berlin, you should do something like that. For the most part, I just went home and worked on a few things. And the day I left, I found out that there were a couple friends in Berlin that I could have reached out to. But something I didn't share. When I was planning my itinerary, I deliberately didn't tell anyone the cities that I was going to because I never traveled alone, never studied abroad or did anything like that. I really wanted to create my own memories and my own experience. So I didn't tell anyone about it. I think in instances like Berlin, maybe in hindsight it could have helped me out a little bit, but still did it on my own and had that experience. So now on to London. London was great. The shopping, the restaurants, seeing my friends. It was everything I remembered it being and more. And then I actually met someone I knew through Instagram. He knew that I loved to roller skate, so he's like, I'm gonna bring my skateboard and we'll just skate around. I was like, yeah, teach me how to skateboard.
Yeah.
Sneezy.
And yeah, I had a blast.
Bye, London. It's been real.
Okay, so now where were we? We were in London. No, we were in Paris. The first day in Paris, I didn't want to do the tourist thing, so I said, let's just walk through the Louvre or like outside where the pyramid was. We walked through, and then I was standing in line for the bathroom, and I noticed my watch was gone. And I immediately felt embarrassed because someone thought that I was a mark.
I'm not sure if I should be upset or impressed that someone snatched my watch. I was in line and was like, wait, something's missing.
And being someone from New York, that was really offensive. I was like, no, this can't be right. But I always wear my watch. It's this watch. This was the replacement. And it actually takes like snapping. Like it doesn't just come off. So someone had smoothly taken this off. I was impressed, offended, all the things. That kind of like set like a weird tone for me. It was like the gloomy weather and then the watch getting stolen, just not starting off on the right foot. And it didn't really go that great the next several days. I mean, I ate at some restaurants, I did some shopping, but one of the highlights of this trip was that I got to meet my best friend, the one that was supposed to be in Paris. So she and I met and had a great time. We had a great meal on this street, just us two, and it was really great. So then now comes the end of the trip. So the last 2 days in Paris I had to myself, and I fully intended to make the most of it. So I was like, I'll go to Versailles. Like, I haven't gone, and it's apparently something to be seen. And I carved out the perfect Monday for that. Looking up the Versailles while I was having lunch, and sure enough, it was closed on Mondays, just like everything else is. So I was like, all right, well, this is my last day and last night in Paris, so what do I do? And look, the gardens were still open, so I was like, fuck it. I'll go. I'll just take a look at the gardens and walk around, and maybe it'll be nice because there are no tourists there. I was right. It was really, really nice. And you know what? They had golf carts there. And I'm like, oh yes. Yes, that's what we're gonna do.
So naturally, I'm gonna drive around the gardens. Let's blast this. Let's blast it.
So I had a blast driving around in that golf cart. I had the most fun that I had the entire time in Paris. I got a baguette and a bottle of wine, and I was like, you know what? This wasn't so bad. I have a really lovely evening to myself.
Last night in Paris, and I got myself one of the best wines I had actually when I was in Lyon. I happened to have it, so I'll be going and got myself a baguette and have a nice evening to myself, enjoying my view.
So then cut to me opening that bottle of wine, a nice bottle of red, and the cork breaking. I was like, all right, no stress, just push it down. And then just mist, red mist all over me. I was also wearing a brand new Thom Browne white sweatshirt that I got earlier in the trip, and it was covered in red wine. And I remembered yelling, fuck Paris, just fuck Paris. And I just, oh, man, I was feeling sorry for myself. It was just a really rough trip. I got through that moment, calmed down a bit, and went to bed, and that was it. Because Lisbon was right around the corner. So Lisbon was an immediate change. I think it was also because London and Paris were so gloomy, and when I arrived to Lisbon, there was the sun again.
I'm in Lisbon, and I'm wearing a tank top. It's actually warm here. It's so beautiful.
And my mood started lifting. One of the things that I will never forget about Lisbon are the nights. Never seen streets at night like this. I never had a single light on in the house. And just the whole place was drenched with this warm, glowing light emanating from the streets.
I'm loving this warm lighting. It's really nice.
And not only was the light emanating, but in the distance I was hearing laughing, singing. And I sat there for hours, just taking it in. And I chased a few sunsets.
Trying to climb up all these steps to make it to sunset. I think I could do this. It looks pretty close.
Because there are many points to watch them. And at this point, I'll say that the loneliness finally crept in. There were so many moments in this trip when I was just elated and so happy to be by myself. You're gonna have to expect that when you travel alone, the loneliness will creep in a bit. but you know, it's just kind of a part of it. And the gratefulness that I felt being able to travel alone and to the places that I did was more than enough. So those tiny moments of loneliness were totally fine. So I was really, really grateful for everything. And then I went to Porto and ended it there. 2 days. So 2 days, 2 nights. It was kind of the best place for me to like stop and like really reflect on the entire trip. And I just had the most incredible view, and like the weather was perfect, and yeah, and again the nights. Oh, it's just by the water, no less. Just unbelievable. So yeah, that's Europe, and that's my first ever solo trip. I did it because I knew that I would never forget it. I was 40 at the time, and it was time to have an experience like that for myself. So I'm really glad that I did that. All right, and that's it. If you like this, then like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Ay, oh my God. I guess it's getting a little easier. Still tough. Still have to find like the perfect setting, and it's still not perfect, but that's totally fine. It's definitely gonna happen, but yeah. I hope I'm getting better. All right, bye for real.